and I've been in chef for about 20 years now. So that's my background. And do we have someone here from the Farmers Market Association?
Sure do. Hi, my name is Megan. I'm the local foods coordinator from the Alaska Farmers Market Association. I'm very happy to be here. I don't know how much you want me to talk and give an intro or overview of AFMA, but I'm just so excited that we could partner on this and that you were willing to put on this workshop. I think it's going to be great. So thank you for having me here today, and thank you for being here to put this on.
Nice to meet you, Megan. Are you here in Anchorage? Where are you?
I'm actually down in Southeast Alaska, so I'm sorry if my voice didn't come through clear or anything. We have like a crazy storm going on, but I'm in Craig on Prince of Wales Island, kind of down near Ketchikan.
Cool, great. Well, I see there's a lot of people now. This is really exciting. I just wanted to get everybody to just kind of quickly introduce themselves. And I think Lisa, if you're able to do it, Lisa could call on people. And if you can't, you could just type it in the chat and just your name, where you live, and the type of product that you sell would be great, or are thinking about selling.
Yeah, I will call on people. First, I'll introduce myself a little bit. We are very excited to have Alaska Farmers Market Association here. So Megan, thanks for coming. But I work with Anchorage Community Land Trust. We are an organization based in the Mountain View neighborhood of Anchorage. And our mission is to help small businesses in our neighborhoods grow and develop. And we also have a space, Grow North Farm, which is a partnership with Catholic Social Services. And that's a place for people of refugee and immigrant background to farm on site. And we have a farmers market on site as well. That's going to get started in a little over a month. But that is an incredible partnership. And we are so happy to work with food businesses and to work with Alaska Farmers Market Association. So very excited to have you all here. So I will just call on people, and like Amanda said, if you could say your name, where you are from, and what you sell or aspire to sell, that'd be great. I'll just go off of the names that I see on the on your name. So Lila Hand Love, can you introduce yourself first?
Yeah. My name's Jamie Johnson. I don't know why it says that's my granddaughter. Anyway, Lila Hand, but Jamie Johnson. I just moved here 2 weeks ago from Spokane, Washington. And undecided really what I'm going to do. There's a lot of interest in Spokane. I did various different things. I've done catering and a bakery for many, many, many years. And then I had, prior to moving up here, I had just started to get into more of the farming and gardening type of thing. So little, I don't really know the community well enough to really know what the community needs and wants.
Well, welcome to Alaska.
Thank you.
Okay, and I will just say, Wendy has always dreamed of having a vegan and juice bar or food trucks. So just listening in, she's from Anchorage. Welcome. And then Michael Irving, Alaska's best shellfish. That's awesome. Thank you for coming. And then Linda Hardiman, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm in Anchorage. I actually want to grow flowers, but a friend of mine forwarded me the Zoom link and thought there might be a lot of overlap between flowers and food. So I thought I would just join in.
You're welcome. Dana, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Hi, my name is Dana Matthews, and I live in the Anchorage area, and I, have a pop-up bakery business, cookies mostly, and I do various Saturday markets and events in the winter, like holiday events, and sell my products. And then I'm venturing off into, I started a taco business last year, and I do it as a pop-up restaurant. And hopefully I'll get into the ACLT food on a Friday when I can get in. And then I also started a lemonade company called Yellow Ice Lemonade Company, because I had a booth at Bear Paw last year, a cookie booth, but I sold 40 gallons of lemonade. And so I figure if I sold 40 gallons of lemonade, that lemonade needed its own
What is
business.
that, seeds?
And so that's basically what I do. I'm sorry?
Kill moss.
Oh, okay.
And then so hopefully I'll transition into my own food truck soon.
Welcome, Dana. Thanks for coming. Okay, it's Afiya Plushkin.
Hello, I'm Afiya Plushkin. I'm actually here for the nonprofit private school that our community is starting, and I guess we're looking at different ventures to make money for the school, and we kind of wanted to explore the option of doing foods. We do like a booth at we're in Wasilla, so we do a booth at the Three Bears, I think once a week now, but kind of wanted to know what the rules were to have a food truck or a booth or whatever at the markets this coming year and for future years, because we want to do deep fried pilmeni, but don't know what the rules are on open flame and hot oil. So I'm here to take notes for them.
Great, thanks for coming. Okay, Pamela's iPad is next.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I never know because I'm out in Bethel.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm out in Bethel, Alaska. I currently have a food truck that I purchased in 2018 from someone else in Bethel when my son decided not to stay in college and came back home and wanted to do vegan. He subsequently moved on after about 4 months, so I kind of think it was my dream, not his in the first place, but I covered it up saying it was his dream. So basically, I just kind of pop up with the food truck when the mood fills me and I don't have to work that day or whatever's on sale at the local store. We are out in the bush, so we're limited to what we can get. Bread is terrible to keep fresh, so I've been trying to convert any sandwich I've ever had that's good into a tortilla model. So we don't call them wraps all the time because we want to be something different. And then I do what I call take and bakes, where you can pre-order a whole pan for special holidays. And I've done catering for some of the nonprofit groups out here. So I'm just looking for any new ideas and ways to get people to try good old-fashioned comfort food.
I love it. Thank you for coming. Okay, Tanya Kaloa is next on my screen.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me? I'm Tanya Kaloa. I currently live in Anchorage. I work for the Tyonek Tribal Conservation District, and we are setting up our farm out in the village of Tyonek. And one of our biggest vendors that we help support right now is the Alaska Native Medical Center. My old coworker had connections with the chef out there at the Native Medical Center, and our partnership has grown and strengthened to have direct sales to this big vendor and getting freshly grown produce to ANMC and tribal members. Things like cabbage and kale, spinach, tomatoes, carrots, and onions. This year, I think my favorite thing to grow is the cucumbers. Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for coming. Okay, Daisy is next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Daisy Nicholas, and I manufacture dog treats and dog meals. I'm currently part of South Anchorage Farmers Market. I've been there for almost 10 years. So I'm here because I wanted to learn more information.
Great, thanks for coming. Okay, Ruta is next on my screen.
Hello, hi everyone. Yeah, so my name is Ruta and I'm here in Anchorage. Well, baking is part of my passion. So I'm here to listen, take notes, and to see how, how to get like a permit and or the rules or how to get like to a kitchen to have my own kitchen or yeah, go from there. Yeah, so that's why I'm here. Hopefully, by the end, I'll have my own kitchen or yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you for coming. Venice is next.
Hi, I'm Venice. I am with Just Your Ginger Lemonade. That's my son. He did the lemonade business thing that they do in the summer last year. He did really well, and we use a Jamaican recipe. Well, we added a Jamaican recipe with the lemonade, and I really want to learn more about the regulations and permit. Like a few people, I know a bit, but I know there are different rules depending on the type of permit and the duration. So I'm really excited, and thank you for doing this because I wanted to learn a bit this way again, but I think I missed the course. So that's the main reason I'm here tonight.
Great, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, Thomas is next.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Thomas Andrade here. I am a nutrition coordinator for Cooking at Tribal Council. We have a few projects going for greenhouses and gardens for our recovery services program. So just trying to get some insight from y'all into that, and we might be looking into doing some wholesale operations to raise funds for our programs and just kind of make things sustainable.
Awesome, love it. Thanks for coming. Okay, Gwen is next.
Hello, I'm Gwen Alexander is fine. Gma is even better, but I basically have been doing this industry with cooking and baking and catering for about 15 years now, and I am on the program now trying to find out the rules and regulations for being able to get a truck. I do know the rules and stuff for setting up a business and setting up booths and stuff for selling food, but I never have delved into the parts about what you need to do to have a food truck. So that's basically my main reason for being here. And thank you for putting this on for sure.
Oh, thank you for coming. Victoria is next on my screen.
Hello, I'm Victoria. I'm just interested in food truck possibilities. I'm a plant-based cook, and I just wanted to, I seen this and I just thought I'd check it out. So it's just a start. So thank you.
Awesome, welcome. Christina's iPhone is next.
Hi, so I own jams, jellies, and things here in Fairbanks. I'm interested in expanding, possibly getting a commercial kitchen / food truck. So I'm just interested to hear more information on that.
Sweet. Okay, and then Jay is last on my screen. Jay, if you're able to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I am Jay one of the food team members with Anchorage Community Land Trust, and I just thought it'd be a fun thing to kind of hop on and get to know everyone. So glad to be here. All right, looking forward to it.
Great, thanks for coming. I think that's everyone. Is there anyone that I missed who didn't get a chance to introduce themselves? Okay, sweet. Then I'll share my screen, and Amanda, you can take it away.
Okay, so I know a lot of you said you're interested in food trucks. And so I think in the future, we should just do a food truck class specifically for food trucks. This is a kind of a little bit more generic because we're going to talk about how to get started selling at a farmer's market or festival and how to be in compliance. And that could be with the municipality and it could be with the borough. We're going to talk about maybe scaling, how to think about scaling your business, when to know you're ready, best practices you should learn, and then we're going to point you to local resources for all of that. So getting started. One of the first things you really need to do when you get the idea and it pops in your head is that you need to get a business license for the state of Alaska. And that's very easy to do. They were free during the pandemic, and I'm not sure if they still are, but I think they're like $50 normally. And you can do it for 2 years at a time. So $100 for 2 years. And then you'll need to open up a business bank account. And you can do that a couple of ways. You can use your own social security number and just open it up doing business as whatever it is, or mine said Amanda Cash doing business as Amanda Cash as the Magpie. I don't know. Or you can get a business EIN number, which you might need if you're doing a lot of catering and things to fill out W-9s. And that would be through the IRS. And that's a simple thing too. You can fill it out online and then they'll, I think they might still be mailing you your EIN. That was kind of weird. And then another important thing is just go ahead and get your point of sale system so you can accept credit cards. Now, credit card sales will have roughly 3 to 4% take from everything. So you could charge that back to the customer now, that's legal. Or you can just have a little bit higher price for your credit card sales, or you could just leave it. I did find that by the end of my business, which is actually still going on, but 80% of my sales are with credit cards. So that's really important to know right off the bat. A lot of people don't carry as much cash with them anymore. And, you know, you can just pay with your phone, which is really handy because you don't have to take anything out of the house. So I would really strongly suggest looking into that. I've used Square for years and years. It's been great. They even have a payroll system. They have a time clock. They have tip sharing for my employees. All of those things that as you grow, as you scale up, you might need to implement. So I'm glad that I just went with them from the start. And if you get the little credit card swiper that plugs into your phone, it's free. I got one recently, a couple years ago, that is for like tapping and to take Apple Pay and everything. And I think it was maybe $75 or $80, and that was well worth it as well. So business license, bank account, point of sale system. And then you need to think about your product. What are you going to sell? Sounds like we have cookies, maybe we have jams and jellies, maybe some vegan food. For me, it started with a simple egg sandwich at the farmer's market. Now, it's probably the best egg sandwich you'll ever have in your life, but that's how I started, is with my egg sandwiches. And my goal was to use everything locally that day from the market, from the vendors there. So I started with bread from Turkey Red and arugula from this farmer and this from this. And I would prep everything there daily at the farmer's market. And then I started grilling pizzas. So I thought, oh, okay, what am I going to do about this? So then I had to bring more equipment. So just think about that too. As you expand, you might need more equipment. I started out with just a camp stove, and that was great. 2 burners, very portable, made to be taken anywhere, very rugged, and it worked. I had a pop-up tent, had my hand washing station, some coolers, and that. So the costing point is looking at your product and finding your price point. Does anybody know what the normal restaurant range is for your food cost? What it should be?
30 to 33, something around there.
Yep. About 30%. Some things might be a higher margin, some might be a low margin. Like, think about if you have Italian sodas, that might be a 5% food cost. But then you've got a sandwich that might be a 40% food cost. So you kind of have to balance your sales depending. And the way that you would cost it out is you're going to take, let's say we have a loaf of bread and you can get 10 sandwiches out of your loaf of bread, and it's $10 for the loaf, right? So that's $1 a sandwich with your bread. And then let's say you have 2 eggs and they are 25 cents each. So that's 50 cents. Let's say you've got 25 cents of mayonnaise on there and 75 cents of Dubliner cheese. And then maybe you have 25 cents of arugula. And then you have some other ingredients. That's going to be about 50 cents. So then we're looking, so we have $1, we have $2, we have $3.25. Was my math right? Cypress, check my math. She's in 2nd grade. So let's say it's $3.25. So you can multiply that by 3. And you're going to see that's a $9.75 egg sandwich right there. And you might as well round it up to 10. So at 10, you could maybe include, oh, here's my kitty cat. Everybody can see her. There. All right. Thank you, sweetie. So maybe at that point, if it is $10, maybe you have a bag of chips or something that was a quarter, and you could afford to throw that in as a little incentive. So, thank you. Do you have any questions about that? I could spend a whole day just on costing. I love costing. Make sense?
So, oh, sorry. I understand the total cost of the ingredients, and then you times it by 75?
Yeah, I just multiply it by like 3 or 3.33. This one I just multiplied by 3. And then that gave me the 975. Then I rounded it up.
When you calculate your cost averages or price point cost, do you take each individual item and divide that and come up with an individual unit cost that way? And because when I'm like, for instance, I get a 5-pound bag of flour. I make a lot of breads and stuff, cookies and everything else. So I have a 5-pound bag of flour. Well, that one bag of flour, I can make let's say upwards from 20 to 30 loaves of bread, plus I can make a couple of dozen of cookies and, pie crust out of that one bag of flour. So do you do the price break where you break down each and every individual item that you make out of that one bag of flour?
Yes, you do. What I do is I do all of my recipes in ounces. So then I know my weight of the flour going into each batch. So you might want to take, next time you make your bread, take your flour that you would put in and weigh it, or there's weight converters online. So you can see that maybe your 5-pound bag of flour is what, 80 ounces? And if that's, you know, $7 or $8, then it's 10 cents an ounce. And maybe you're gonna have 24 ounces of flour in your recipe. So you've got $2.40 of flour. Encourage the metric system in the kitchen. Yeah, that is, yeah, metric's pretty easy too. And there's this whole culinary math that includes baker's percentages and all these different ways to do it. But I think the easiest way is to just do it by weight. And then you can add everything up. And then maybe you have, let's say you have $60 or $6. And then that makes $6, 6 dozen cookies. And so then that's $1 a dozen. And then you can say that's what, 0.84 cents a cookie or something. But that's not gonna be, that's not a real.
Yeah, for instance,
I know.
Sell my cookies. I have my cookies at two in a pack. Sell them for $3 a pack. For my cookies, but the way that I've been doing it, and just your input on if this is just the wrong way to do it or not. I take what I pay because I do shows. I don't have a brick and mortar building really per se. So I take, if my show costs me $100 to be there at the show, and I spent $86 on supplies, and I make $380 at that show, then I figured I've made, you know, quite a bit of profit that way. But then I still have stuff left over that I bought with that $86 to make my next show's worth of stuff. So I figure I'm ahead without having to break down into each 12 cents here, 3 cents there, 15 cents, and put a price on stuff. So that's the way that I do it because I'm bad at math. No.
Yeah, no, I understand. And you know what? That could probably work for you if you know the exact amount that you spent on your ingredients and then what you sold and what you spent on your booth space. Yeah, for sure. That could definitely work for you.
Okay.
I just come from the, you know, executive chef background where we're just constantly adjusting like our prices, and we have spreadsheets of recipes and everything. So that's where my brain goes, but I think my mom's brain would be more with you, and that's great. There's a lot to be said for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. She just rolls her eyes at me. I don't know. Any other questions? Or if you guys ever want to contact me and I could sit down with you and do some costing on things, I would love to do that.
How do you decide if it's better to run out of things during the day or better to have things left over?
That's a good question. I personally like to run out of things, not everything, but as long as I have an alternative for that person that comes up and they're like, oh no, you ran out of fried green tomato BLTs. And I'm like, well, tell you what, I have some zucchini and I'll fry that up and put it on there. But next time get here earlier and you can get your fried green tomatoes. You know, kind of creating a little sense of urgency is good. And then also just making sure you don't have the waste. If you have a event the next day and you have some food left over, that's fine. Or if you want to go hand out food at a shelter or whatever you want to do, feed the neighborhood when you get home. I've done that before too. But I always prefer to just have the right amount or be able to, I like to just throw something together with what I have left too and just kind of, oh, I got to erase that off my menu. But here's an omelet.
So as if you were to do like a show, first time, never did it, how is there a way to predict how much to bring?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would talk to other vendors and I would talk to the organizer and say, how many people have you had in the past? Do you know what your vendor sales have been? Some organizers might charge you a percentage of sales. So they would have that information. But for instance, when we would go to the food truck, the Spinard Food Truck Carnival, is $75 to be there for 3 hours, no matter who you are, no matter what you sold. So I always knew like that was going to be 75. There's usually going to be a lot of people there. But with events, I've been burned before with people saying, oh, you know, we're going to have 400 people. And then it's like 50 people and there's 3 food trucks there. So that is a very good question, but I would connect with other vendors and connect with the organizer, especially if it's an ongoing market or a festival that's taken place for years. They'll have a really good idea on the number. And then from there, you can kind of say, well, let's see if 1 out of every 20 people stops and buys something from me, then maybe I should make this amount, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Also, for like adding cost to your food, like we would be doing farmers markets and just little vendor stuff. Do you add the cost of vendor into the price of your food, especially since each place has a different cost?
Yes, you could. You could definitely, if you were going to pay $500 to be somewhere, you could add that into your food cost. And another thing is all of your paper goods are going to be an expense too. I know that sometimes it can be up to $1 in paper goods that you're spending for some entrees. So you do need to account for that. So I think having flexible pricing systems according to the genre. If you're at a children's festival, you're gonna have a high price point. But if you're at like an evening music festival where people are drinking beer and they're gonna be hungry, then you can raise your prices there.
Also, I will say, in terms of cost, so this workshop is part of a series that we're doing this summer, and we're going to be talking more about costs in future workshops. So just so you know, for all of you in the audience, because I know, cost is a big consideration. So there will be more to come on costs too.
Yes, we're at the beginning, you guys, but I love all your questions. This is great. This makes me know what people
I have
want.
a comment to make. This is Dana. I just have a comment to make about the question the last person asked. So I think I started 3 years ago, and I started off doing the Spinard Farmers Market, and it's really no way to predict. It wasn't for me to predict how much stuff to make, and so I normally bake. So last year I did the market that was downtown on East Street, between 5th and 6th. And so my very first one, I didn't know, I had no idea if it was going to be busy or not. And so I made baked goods. And, you can really make a lot of baked goods out of a batch of cookies. And so I always look at it so I spent $50 to be here. I spent $60 for all my ingredients to make all my baked goods. And so at the end of the day, I want to gross $300, just throw that out there. And so that's kind of what I base how much stuff I bring. So my very first day of downtown last year, I had quite a bit packages of cookies, and I individually package all my stuff. So I spend not a lot, but I have a pretty large cost for packaging. So my very first day, the market started at 11 and it ends at 5. So my very first day, I was sold out of everything at like 1:30. And then, so, you know, I signed up for 2 months. So then that told me, oh, well, next week you should bring more or double it, or, you know, bring more by half. And the entire 2 months that I did it, every Sunday, and I kept bringing more and more items. Every Sunday I sold out like about 2:45 or 3 o'clock. So it all depends, like you said, where you are, what type of market it is. And I don't really charge differently for where I am. The only place I charge differently is at Bear Paw, because I also did Bear Paw last year, and it was very disappointing because I thought normally when I do a market, I sell a ton of cookies. I mean, it's like people act like I'm the only cookie in town. And so then I was very excited. It was my first year doing Bear Paw. And I got disappointed because I didn't sell as many cookies as I thought I would. I sold cookies, but not like I thought. I had made 1,000. I pre-scooped and froze 1,000 mini cookies because I just knew I was going to sell a lot of mini cookies at Bear Paw and blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, Bear Paw's spendy. And so I was disappointed in my cookie sales, but you know, my lemonade, selling 40 gallons of lemonade saved the day, saved my pocketbook, because without that lemonade, I would have been like, oh my God, I'm never doing Bear Paw again. And so you're right. It's all depending on where you are and, you know, what type of event it is. But I think I didn't do well in my cookie sales because, you know, Bear Paw is like a fair. And so people want fair food. You know what I mean?
They want an elephant ear funnel cake.
Exactly. They want, but this year I'm doing something different. I hope it works out. I'm doing a giant cookie on a stick. And so I hope it works out. I hope I've been testing it out. I finally got that cookie to stay on that stick when you bite into it. And so, you know, and I'm creating this chocolate chip popcorn cookie thing. And I think that type of stuff probably would sell better than my mini cookies. But I was just to say, but it all depends on where you are. And for me, it's really been a guessing game, you know, of what to bring and how much to bring. And because when I don't make mini cookies, I have a lot of people come to my booth. I thought you were going to have mini cookies. And then I don't have them. And then when I have them, don't nobody come to buy them. So it's just really a guessing game. But, you know, I have a full-time job, and this is like a side thing for me. But I love it. I just love what I do. And it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people. And so, and I had to adjust. I had to stop spending so much money because my best friend took my books and told me, you're not making no money. And so I had to change up the way I did things. But in the end, depending on why you're doing it, I mean, I just enjoy making food. And so I just enjoy it, whether I make money or not.
Well, that's a great example. And thank you for sharing, everyone. I think, you know, we can talk more about costing. We can have a costing class. We can do all kinds of things in the future. And we are actually going to talk about next as a bookkeeping bookkeeping system that's very simple. And so this is like an example. So you have your daily sales. So you can just put them all in, boom, 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 boom. There's your total for the week. For me, you know, I had a point of sale system, and it would show, I rang up all my cash sales in there, and, you know, my credit cards and gift cards. That's another thing too, at the point of sale that you can do. And it would show me minute by minute, like, here's your total for the day. And then I could look like last week on Saturday, this is what I sold, or, you know, I'm way ahead of sales at this specific time of day or behind. So that's kind of a nice thing about a point of sale system. But this is great. You just, you have your notebook and you just write it down. And it's very, very simple. And it's something you can just look at and see everything in front of you, which I really like. So I think we have on the next slide. So here's our product sales. So you can put everything down and then just make a tally mark. So let's say you have cookies, cupcakes, and fruit pizza. And so you can just cross off your tally marks. And at the end, you can multiply that by the price and you'd get your sales total. So you might have something that you think is going to be really popular, like mini cookies, but then you look and you actually sold 400 cups of lemonade. So this is something really nice to do. A point of sale system will do it for you, but this is great as well. And also nice to have as a backup. Or, you can just look over and you're like, oh my gosh, I sold this. I need to send someone to the store right now for more bacon or ice. So, and I have had to do that many times. Like, I thought we brought enough food, but no, I didn't. And you're going to go here and you're going to go here. And I need you to go to Costco for me right now. So the next one is our expenses. And it's really important that you save your receipts. I know it's like a pain in the butt. And sometimes when I had employees, I'd just be like, here's a box of receipts. Can you just go through and do this for me? Because I was so busy with 3 kids and the shopping and the prepping and the cleaning and everything else that went, and like 16-hour days, that the last thing I ever wanted to do is sit in front of a screen and input receipts. So it's a good thing for kids to do too. Like, I'll write this down and my mom will love me. Maybe she'll give me $1. I don't know. But so you can see, here's our radish seed from Alaska Mill and Feed. It was $3. We planted it. We sold $30 of radishes off that one pack. So then you can know how much you made, how much you spent. And so if this was food, we can say, here's my bag of flour. It was $5. Here's this. But you don't also need to do that. You can say, I went to Green Alaska Solutions and spent $400 on paper goods. I went to Costco and I spent $600 on food. I went to Alaska Restaurant Supply. I spent $200 on catering supplies. And then you cost it out later. Or you can just say, I spent $50 in food and I spent $50 on a booth and I want to make $300 today. So I need to sell 400. That also works. Any questions about these?
This is Dana again. I'm not going to take up the whole class, but I use QuickBooks Self-Employed, and I used to have boxes of receipts. And QuickBooks Self-Employed is awesome.
Yeah,
I go to Costco or wherever I go, I get in the car and I scan my receipt.
You scan your receipt. It's right there.
It is awesome. And it'll put everything where it needs to go. It's awesome. That's all. That's my only comment.
Yeah, I think right now we're just thinking like people that probably aren't to the point where they need QuickBooks yet, but it sounds like you do. And a lot of people that are on here might already be using a software like that. And it is great. And I do like the scannable receipts and the tracking, and you can put everything into categories. That's really great. So I agree.
Amanda, could you talk about like the reasons to save your receipts? I'm thinking like the tax benefits of saving your receipts, like the importance of that.
Yes. Well, you need to track everything because you need to file taxes on your business. And if you get audited, you need every receipt for the last 7 years. I haven't been, so I think I have probably 10 years worth of receipts because I'm nervous about it. And I probably have a bunch of receipts I lost because I have my 14-year-old get propane. I don't know. But yeah, it's really important. And also, you know, if you spent, like, let's say you had to put a new ice maker in your food truck, then you need to be able to deduct that. That was a big expense for you. And if you don't have the receipt, then you're not going to be able to do that. And also, like during COVID, there were all sorts of grants and things, and you needed to show sales and you needed to show your expenses in the past to be able to be a verified person for all of those grants. Okay, so next we've got our industry types. These are with food, not with farming. So we have like baking, catering, made to order hot food. That could also be cold, raw food, but just made to order. Your cottage foods and your consumer packaged goods. And we're going to go through these, and then we can try to decide where some of you belong if you want to volunteer for that. So I think, do you have another slide on this, or is this the one? Okay, so we can go back if you want to go back. Okay, so your baking would be, you know, cookies, cupcakes, muffins, breads, pies, hand pies, cake pops, cookies on a stick, anything like that, that would be a baked good. And then your catering is direct to a client with a predetermined number of people, right? Or like a wedding or a business meeting. Like I do a lot of board meetings for nonprofits, for lunches and breakfasts, and also like a lot of classes like this where there might be a group of people and, you know, it's going to be 18 people for a light dinner, that sort of thing. So that would be your catering, you know, the exact amount of food that you need to make. And then you're made to order hot food. Now that's the one that's a little trickier because that's the one you don't know every time how things are going to turn out unless you've been doing the same thing for years and everybody knows where to find you, and they have like a tradition of having breakfast at your food truck, which is what I had. I could count on the same 30 people coming through every Saturday for years, as well as, you know, new customers, or people would bring their family from out of town when they came. It was just kind of a really fun community that we had at the farmers market. The cottage foods are things you can make at home, and that does include quite a bit of the baked goods, things that aren't going to be hazardous, things that aren't going to involve like raw meat. You can have pickles, jams and jellies, some breads, you know, all sorts of really nice things that you can actually do at home. And then your consumer packaged goods are going to kind of be in the same genre a little, because it could be jams and jellies, it could be dehydrated foods, it could be soup mixes, it could be a spice blend or a tea blend, or something that someone would pick up themselves and purchase and go home later and use as a condiment, or, you know, cook at home. Baking mixes, for instance. Any questions on those?
So the booth we're planning to do, it is going to be hot food.
Mm-hmm.
And so our main idea is to do, they're called pilmeni. It's a Russian dumpling.
Yeah, the dumplings are so good.
Yeah, so originally we were planning to do potato filling just because we are like have absolutely no idea what the rules on raw meat is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do we need to bring the item pre-cooked to a farmer's market and then fry it there, or can we cook it and fry it there? Like, what are the rules on bringing raw meat?
It's going to depend on where you are. Some you can make it right there at the market and cook it. Some you might need to have a commissary kitchen to deal with the raw meat, but you can still bring it uncooked if it's being held at a temperature below 41 degrees.
Oh,
Does that
like
make sense?
the dumplings will be already made. We just
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're in Wasilla, right?
Yeah. So we would
Okay.
be in like Whistle and Palmer area farmers markets.
Okay, so what I would do is check in with the DEC or with your local health department and just ask. And they might even say, because it's going to be cooked to the certain temperature, that it might even be like something you could do out of like a church kitchen or something like that. Oftentimes with your made to order food, you are going to have to use a commissary kitchen. And a commissary kitchen is one that you might rent or just use that is a certified kitchen. For instance, when I would be doing things for large events and I didn't have my food truck open in the winter, I would rent a kitchen or borrow a kitchen from a friend here in town. And I would use a pie stuff because I also did some baking for him and was a consultant for him. And he has a really big walk-in, and it was DEC certified and Muni certified. So I knew that I had a really good space there. And there is a form that you can fill out for using a commissary kitchen. So I am not sure on the Valley's rules, but I'm pretty sure in the municipality of Anchorage, they would require a commissary kitchen because of the raw meat, and that you would be, you would need hand washing and all sorts of things for that, if that makes sense.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
For years, that's what I've been doing. I cook on site,
Mm-hmm.
and I get my permit from the health department. I'm in Anchorage, so yeah, like you said, there might be different rules and regulations in the Valley, but you have to go and buy your meat that same day. You can't buy it and keep it in your refrigerator at home and all that good stuff. You have to go to the store and actually get your meat that day. And if the inspector comes out, you got to show them your receipt showing that you bought that day. You have coolers with ice in them or a refrigerator that's plugged in on site. You have to have your 3 sinks, your 3 pans with water for your hand washing station, and the whole 9 yards out there at the site, in addition to your little portable hand washing station. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do to cook raw meat on site. And I usually have a barbecue grill, or if they have electricity, then I use I have a ton of electric appliances that I use on site. So it's just depends on what you want to do. You can cook raw meat on site, but there's regulations and rules that are a lot of hoops you have to jump through. For me, it's easier than getting a approved kitchen, because I did that for the first time this year, and it sucks. And I will never do anything again where I have to have an approved kitchen. I will continue to cook on site because I go through so much stuff to get that kitchen, and then it's an inconvenience because I had to transport it. You got to pay to store it there, in addition to the time you have to pay for using the kitchen. Because you can't take it home with you. Yeah, you can't take it home with you and then bring it to the event the next day. And in most of the approved kitchens, you can't go in there 3 o'clock in the morning and cook your stuff and take it to the site. So it just depends on how much extra work you want to do for if you do it on site versus getting an approved kitchen. But yeah, like I said, I did for the first time this year, I did an approved kitchen. And I have hot bags, because you have to transport the stuff in hot bags. And the hot bags that I have, I can transport food in it. It'll keep it hot as long as I don't unzip it for 4 to 6 hours.
Right. Well,
so, yeah, it's a hassle, but if you want to do it that way, then yeah. But I cook on site.
Thank you for sharing, and I'd love to talk to you more about that later in your experience. But I think the palminis are like little dumplings that are stuffed with the meat, and then they're deep fried. So they'd be baking all of those off site. And I think as long as they're under refrigeration in a cooler, that they would be fine to carry, or, you know, if you flash froze them in portions, then that
Okay.
would be fine.
And that's why we at first were like, we're not gonna do meat, we're gonna do a different filling, because we didn't, the whole meat thing is such a thing with the refrigeration and how it's cooked and when it was cooked, and it's a mess.
Yeah, and so I would, I apologize that I don't have much experience with the DEC on that. I'm more about the municipality, and they do have the strictest rules out of anyone in the state, just so you know that. So if you are trying to sell in Anchorage and you have sold in sold.net, or you have sold in Fairbanks, or you have sold in Wasilla or Palmer, you will not be able to sell in Anchorage until you jump through all those Anchorage hoops.
Yeah,
So-
we crossed Anchorage off our list because of that.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm here to help. So, yeah.
When you say DEC, what is DEC?
It's the state health department, and it goes under the Department of Environmental Conservation. So it seems like environmental, but it's like health and environment.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't clarify. Yeah, DEC is the state health department.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And if you're going to be doing a consumer packaged good, you need to make sure it's in a DEC approved kitchen for wholesaling. So that's something to know. But I think we can.
I have a question about that. Yeah, we might need to get together some other time, because I have a lot of questions.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, 'cause
I love everyone here.
I
They're
have
all
people come out and buy stuff for me that have little stores or little sporting lodges and stuff like that. And they say, well, can you sell me this stuff wholesale so I can sell it in my store or
Yep.
my little restaurant? I say, no, I can't do that because I have a cottage permit, but I can't resell stuff for resale without getting a different kind of permit that costs a lot more money. And somebody told me that I have to fill out a, what do you call it? A 5-inch thick packet of paperwork. In order to do it. And I'm like, ew.
It's 5 pages, not 5 inches.
Oh,
But
shit.
it's okay. I really want to talk to you more about this and dig into it later. I think you might be at.
Could I ask a quick question? Could you go in as a personal chef and prepare at their lodge and then freeze it or process it for them so that they could use it as a later date? It wouldn't be fresh, but I've been asked to do that. And I'm just wondering if that's how you get around kind of the cottage thing. I don't know if you have to have a personal chef license, but could you fly up before their season opens and prep a bunch of stuff for them?
Yes, as a consultant or as a, what do you call it? When you're not a regular employee, you're a contract. It'd be under a contract from them. So, yeah.
Independent contractor agreement.
So then you'd have your 1099. And for all the people that are having to jump off, I am so sorry. I think that we just, we have a lot more to talk about than what we thought for our first class. So I think we are going to have to speed up a little. And then if we can get through this, I might answer some of your questions. And then at the end, we can have time for more questions and conversation, because it's real. I think these are all really great. So Lisa, if you want to do the next slide, thank you. And so here we go. Regulatory needs or different sales opportunities. So we're going to let everyone have this slideshow as well, so you know what everything is instead of me just like, ugh. So you do need to have your city health permit for your cottage foods and your hot food booth at a public event. Now that would be a farmer's market, and that would be a festival. That could be a concert. That could be a little pop-up neighborhood thing where people are going to come. That could be you selling hot dogs after church for your youth group. People could report you for that. And it has happened, and it's happened at bake sales and lemonade stands too. So, which I won't get into, but that one, you do need your short-term food permit from the municipality. And if it is at an event, it needs to be at least 2 weeks before that event. Now, if it's an ongoing event, like a farmer's market that might be every Saturday from May to October, then you can buy a permit that covers that entire span that allows you to operate up to 3 days a week at the same spot. You have 2 different spots, you have to get 2 permits. If you think that you might be operating more than 1 day a week, I would just go ahead and get that permit because it's cheaper in the long run. When you are at a market or a festival, there needs to be a manager of it. So you need to find out who's my manager, and they need to get you on the list that they give to the health department. And then the health department will see you on the list. And then after that, you can go in and get your permits. I know it's kind of convoluted, but that's just how it works. If you have a food truck, you don't need to do that because your food truck is a licensed kitchen and you are free to go just about anywhere at any time, unless it's a big festival, and then they might want the list. So for wholesaling, which we talked about, your ingredient list is really important because you have to make a label. You have to make a label that goes on all of your packaging, and it has your ingredients by weight, from the largest amount to the smallest amount. So it might say flour, sugar, butter, eggs, etc. And then at the end, it's like cream of tartar. So with your wholesaling as well, that's where we're getting into our state certified space insurance, food handler's card, a serve safe card, and your plan review. The plan review is the one that you are going to have all of your processes and your kitchen setup, your schematics, your in culinary, we call it the HACCP. It's a hazardous analysis critical control point. So you have to have all these things, but for the Muni and for the DEC, they're not that picky. So you're gonna say, I have eggs. They are held at 41 degrees or from 35 to 41 degrees in a walk-in cooler. I have a 3-compartment sink. I am going to use bleach disinfectant. Here are my test strips for that. I have hand washing sink. I have a thermometer for taking internal temperatures to make sure that my meat is cooked to a proper temperature. Does that make sense? Do we have questions about that? Or questions at the end? And then with your food truck or your restaurant, then you do need your city health permit. And then you need, I don't know why it's not on there. If you're borrowing a food truck, let's say I had mine and it was for rent for special events, you would probably need to get your short-term food permit for that, but that's not the norm. And then you have to have everything. And when you go to the Muni, they're gonna say, what is your menu? And I say, well, I'm doing a pork schnitzel sandwich. And they would say, all right, ding, ding, there's a raw meat. Are you cooking any other raw meat? Well, yes, I do a Friday fish fry. All right, there's another one. Oh, I cook bacon. There's another one. And oh, do you cook eggs? Well, yeah, I cook eggs. So they're gonna say you have 4 critical foods. And those are going to count towards how much you pay for this permit. So if you're doing vegan food, things that, you know, you're not gonna be, even like if it's raw or if it's vegan, you're not gonna pay as much money for your permit than if you're cooking 12 meats. Does that make sense? And the Serve Safe Manager, I would just go ahead and get it. Find out. I could even teach a class here. Oh, because I used to be certified to teach a Serve Safe class. And the Serve Safe is a national class. It has a handbook. It has like an online test, and it can go nationwide. So if you are in Alaska and you get your Serve Safe Manager, and then you want to go to Hawaii for the winter, then you can transfer that over there. And that usually supersedes any local classes that exist. So I know when I was in culinary school, the very beginning, they were like, you had to take nutrition, culinary math, and your Serve Safe and sanitation classes. Those were like the very first before you even got in a lab. And then they're like, you can't do this, where you have to go home. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think Serve Safe is great. It allows you to work pretty much anywhere or to sell in a lot of places. Like, oh, you got your Serve Safe, great. All right. And then
there are some questions in the chat too, Amanda.
Oh, I do. Oh, city certified space for cottage food. Does that mean where they're prepared? Yes, it does. And I have a really lovely large file from the health department that explains like everything that we're talking about. It's like a nice packet full of information, how to set up your 3-compartment sink at a farmer's market, how to do your water for your hand washing station at a farmer's market. And so they might have to go to your house and certify you, or make sure that, you know, if you're in your church basement, that it's certified. So it does mean that's where it's prepared. And then
I have another question.
Dennis?
Yes, it's Venice.
Okay.
So for the let's see, city certified space, this is for public events only.
Yes.
So I mean, we will be selling online. I know we can't ship with the cottage, with the permit. But if the process is they pay online and then pick it up, do we still need the certified space?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I would say that, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's my guess.
Online when we got the I did the handler's card, but I don't remember seeing that part. So no, I'm glad I know that. I'll double check and make sure. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's Christina says, is Serve Safe Manager class same as the manager's food safety class? Maybe. There's Serve Safe is a certification that you get after you pass the class. And so it might be the same class that we're talking about. I know that, help me out.
There's like, is she talking about this state? Because there's like the state.
Well, there's the state food manager, there's the food handler card, that's through the municipality. And then there's it might be this food manager safety class, which would be a Serve Safe. You can just ask, is this a Serve Safe class? And if you are doing.
If I can interject. Yeah, it's, I want to say yes, it is the same one. The Serve Safe class is the food manager's card. I mean, the food manager's certification. Currently, I think there's like 2 organizations that do it. One of them is CHAR. It's a full day class, and you will get that certification as a food manager. And I think the certification will last you about 5 years. Yeah.
Yes, it does last 5 years, and you have to pass the test. You can't just take the class. So you got to pass the test, and it's going to cover everything from cooking temperatures to foodborne illnesses to maybe going over case studies of people that got Giardia from drinking creek water. I don't know, all sorts of things. yeah, contamination, hand washing. So, oh, good, you're signed up for that. Yeah, so Char does it. And I know like in Denali, a lot of the resorts up there, just they do it for everybody. You have to have someone with a Serve Safe certification on site at all times. That's the rule. So if you want to have some days off, you need to make sure that there's someone there that has it besides you. And if they come and do an inspection and you're not there, then I don't know what they do actually. If they would fine you or if they'd say, well, we need to come back another time and you're in trouble. I don't know. Naughty. You naughty food people. So any other questions about this one? Next slide. Let's see what's on there. Okay. This is a good one. Oops, what did I do? So getting ready for your market. So a lot of you have already done this. So you know you need to find a market or festival to sell at. And it sounds like some of you are kind of at this stage as well. So you find your market, you talk to the market manager, you know if you need insurance, you know that you might need your Serve Safe certification, you know that you're going to have to go to the health department and buy a permit. You know that that's all the part of getting ready. It's not just prepping food. It's not just packing your truck. So then let's say you are going to go to the food market or going to the farmer's market and you're going to sell food. So you need to gather your necessary items. So what are you going to need? A tent. I mean, you don't have to have a tent, but it's nice to have a tent, like a pop-up tent. At least one folding table. I had 3. I made a U shape at mine, and then I had the cooking in the back. So I had one that was prepping on the side. I had the one in the front that was taking orders and handling money and giving out food and drink. Then I had one on the side that was my 3-compartment sink and hand washing station. So you're also going to need sanitizing spray. You're going to need bus tubs for dirty dishes. You're going to need your dishware. You're going to need paper products. You're going to need your igloo cooler with a lever spigot with a continuous flow of water with hot water in it to wash your hands with. So you're also going to need a catch bucket under that. And then you'll need 3-compartment setup, and I would take 3 bus tubs. And I'd have my wash and my rinse and my sanitizer, and I'd have my sanitizer tablets that would go in there, and I'd have my test strips for that as well. And then sponges, soap, bleach, paper towels, trash cans, trash bags, all of those things you're gonna need. So one of my hot tips here is to get like those big totes, those big black totes from Costco or wherever. My husband gets them at Home Depot. I don't know why, but I put everything in there. So I have one that was like my clean pots and pans. I'd have one that was all of my small wares, all of my tongs and spatulas and wooden spoons, and everything would go in one. And then another would be my cleaning chemicals, and another would be paper goods. So then I'd have those 4 totes, and they were like at the ready in the garage by the door, ready to go. And on Saturday mornings at 4 a.m., woo, we'd load them up. And then another big thing is that when you are doing that, that you're going to maybe just make sure that you have a notebook with you so you can keep track of anything that you forgot or anything you're like, oh, that was a good idea, or I need to remember this. I have to have a notebook with me like at all times, or I forget everything. So I would put that on the list too, as a notebook and, you know, pens, your point of sale system, a charger, like what do you need? So make lists. Lists are great. And they kind of help ease some anxiety as well, especially if it's before your first event where you have your list and it is checked off. Any questions about that? All right. So your permits, and here we are talking about compliance. And so in compliance is going to mean that you're just working within the rules and regulations of your community. So you're going to have your permits and licenses. So you're going to have your ServSafe certification, your food card, your seasonal market vendor permit, insurance. You might have to go find insurance. A lot of market vendors will require it. And then your inspections from the health department and the fire department. And the fire department, they're going to be coming at big festivals before everything starts, and they're going to come through. Now, if you have your deep fryer at a festival, they're going to say, well, your propane needs to be this far away and it can't be like under the tent, or you have a generator and you can't have it enclosed in a vehicle because of carbon monoxide. They're going to check all of that. And if you have a food truck, they're going to make sure that you have an ANSEL system in it now. And I got actually through ACLT, I had received a grant to help me with my ANSEL system. And the ANSEL is a fire suppressant chemical system that drops chemical onto the flame if the flame, it gets so high, or if you're in a panic and you run out and you pull the lever on the door. So the ANSEL systems are now required in food trucks, and that would be anything with a grease-laden vapor. So that could be hamburgers, that could be, French fries in a deep fryer. It could be bacon on a flat top. It could be sauteing with olive oil. They said that was grease-laden vapors. They told me like flipping eggs was grease-laden vapor. I said, okay. So, all of that. And you're also going to need a K-class fire extinguisher. And that means it's a kitchen class. And that means that it is not like the wet fire extinguisher that could interact with your deep fryer or your other products, because those actually can catch fire again over and over. So, and there's videos of it if you want to be terrified, but I don't recommend it. There's a couple places in town that I was calling around. Alaska Fire and Fasteners, weird store that I go there like 20 times a year for fasteners or whatever. Who knows? I was like, well, no one has this. I better go to Alaska Fire and Fastener. And it's on International, and they have all kinds of weird stuff in there. But they do have the kitchen class, the K-class extinguishers. And then who's the Yukon, they just got them in. They were telling me on the phone the other day that they were coming in soon. They had a big order. So they might have them. And, they're about $300. And they're the silver, the big guy, silver, heavy, huge fire extinguishers. Any questions on that one?
Where would I go to find out like what the fire department wants, like how far away our propane tank is supposed to be standing from our open flame or whatever?
I would go to the fire department. I would call them up and say, hey, who's your fire inspector for festivals and food trucks? I just have a few questions. Maybe you can answer them. And they'll say, okay, well, here's this nice lady and she'll give you the info usually, or they might say, we actually have it on the website, or here's an email address. So, it's really good to just call and ask. And I do it all the time. I used to be really shy about it, and I don't know why. It just saves a lot of trouble. And I'm frozen all weird.
Oh, wow. They also have it on, if you go to the municipality website, muni.org, they click on the fire department, it lists the whole thing right there. Everything required to have. So that's an easy way to do it if you don't want to call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we don't have, we have all these resources for you at the end because they didn't want to get into specifics because this is kind of a more general thing, but just know that there are regulations and you do need to follow them. And I know there are a couple of food trucks in town that in the past were trying to operate without having their K-class or their Ansel system hood, and they had to close. They got through a couple years without getting them because it's a big chunk of change to add it to your hood. It's better to get the hood with it straight out of the gate than to have it installed later. So, but
Okay.
yeah, thank you for the questions and the comments. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then the next one for in compliance, Lisa. And here we go. All right, here's your scaling up. Scaling up into a commissary kitchen. So the commissary kitchen is a commercial kitchen space you can rent out for, you know, a lot of foods, your non-cottage foods. So your questions you're going to ask, is this realistic? Is it worth it? Now, our pros, access to commercial level equipment. All right, you know what? When I go and I bake hand pies, I use a double stack convection oven and I bake 8 trays of 12 at a time, right? And that's 25 minutes. So I can do in a couple hours, I can, you know, cook 400 hand pies or something in a commercial kitchen. Now that could be a product I could also do at home, but to bake 400 of them, I would be baking for like 3 days solid. So this is also, you can make a more varied menu. Maybe you could add some things. Now your cons are the more costs. It can be 25 bucks an hour minimum to rent a kitchen. So let's say I have a small catering job. It's gonna cost me $25 an hour. I'm doing 30 people for lunch at 20 bucks each. So that should be $600. Oh man, I'm gonna spend 4 hours in that kitchen prepping, washing dishes, and cleaning up. So that's $100 right off the bat. And then I, you know, spent $300 on food. So that's $400. So now, you know, am I gonna make enough money to make it worth my time? And like Gwen said, as I just call it, the schlepping. You are carrying stuff back and forth, or you are renting an additional space in a commissary kitchen. So I have a permanent rack at a pie stop in the walk-in for my catering. And, you know, if I'm going to be using that several times in a month, I'll just like give them 50 bucks. Here you go. I'm renting my own rack in your space, but you can use it when I'm not. So it's great when you have friends that are, you know, letting you use a space. But if you aren't, you know, if it's somebody that is on like an app or something that's like a kitchen rental app, or if it's maybe like a club or somewhere else that might have a commercial kitchen, they're going to have you have insurance for them. They're going to, you know, have all these crazy things. And, you know, it may not be worth your while, but then it might be like you can cook that much more that you don't mind paying those fees. But you just have to be realistic about it. So any questions on that one? Okay. All right. How do you know when you're ready to scale up? And who was talking? Was it Dana that you were talking about your cookies and the lemonade?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it seemed like you were selling out consistently and early in the market day, right? So, and then there's a limit. And Jay, do you know off the top of your head what your sales limit is for your cottage foods?
I think it's 25,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's
So
25,000 a year.
So if it's, you know, farmers market season and it's, you know, May through October and it's July 15th and you've already hit your $25,000 in sales, to continue, you would have to scale up if that's what you want to do. And then also, like, are people approaching you about other events, like consistently? Like, hey, you know, my native corporation is gonna have a business meeting next week. So that kind of thing. And then are you feeling that the market season is penning you in? That is just deterring additional sales that you could be doing year round? Or do you want to do a gift show? Do you want to try to participate in a longer selling season? So those are all questions. Like, I just sold my food truck. I got like 12 people. I sold it yesterday. I had like 12 people today calling or emailing about.
Was it that yellow? Were you the owner of that yellow food trailer? Oh, yeah, I saw that online. I was like, oh, I should contact her.
It's what?
I said I should contact you when I saw it.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the guy that bought it's going to be in Homer. So watch out, Homer. He's going to do falafel. And he's an Israeli guy, and he's great. And he's going to do Indian food and vegan food and falafel. And he's making per order the pita bread for the sandwiches on the spot with sourdough. I was just like, you're the perfect person.
He's in Homer? I'm going to have to take a trip to Homer.
I know, we're all going to go to Homer, and that is our field trip for this class.
Love it. Let's do it. Book it now.
Yeah, done. And so I just felt really happy about where it was going, you know, because I just felt like it's just going to be fantastic down there in Homer, like near the beach, and with some falafel. So
the only thing I would say about upscaling, so it all depends on your schedule and what you do. Like, I don't have a website, and I don't sell on my social media because I have a full-time job. And I believe if I opened my business up to sales like that, orders, I would be constantly baking every day, and then I would hate it. And so I like to limit myself to what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you could say, you know, I'm doing this as my side gig, and I, you know, want to make $1,000 a month extra. Right. So I'm just going to bake, you know, $250 in sales a week, and it's already bought and paid for. And that's a nice thing to do too. You're right. And I know a lot of people that are like, all right, I'm going to take orders for 20 loaves of bread, and oh, now I'm sold out. Bye-bye. You know, that happens too. And if you just want to do that, that's great. I think that's a great way to do it. And so your expectations, okay. So also the scaling up, you're going to have a new permit, you're going to have your commissary kitchen permit, and it's just one page, but the health department needs to know when you're going to be in there so they could drop by and inspect you if they feel like they need to, but they're really busy. You're going to have new insurance. You're going to have new insurance, and that would cover you working in their space normally, and the rental cost of space, and then maybe payroll, because if you're going to be paying to be in a space, you want to make as much as possible in the shortest amount of time. And so you might have to bring in other people. If you have payroll, you have to have workers' comp insurance, and that's an additional insurance. So I know, like with me, because I don't have any regular employees, I have some contract employees that I can call and say, hey, I've got this wedding on June 5th, and I need 10 people to come help prep and then to help serve at the wedding. And, you know, I have a big pool of people that have worked for me in the past, and usually it's no problem to get a few people to help out with that. And so since they're not working for me every day, they're not working for me every month, might be just twice a year, I can do them as a contract employee because that's what they are. Now, if someone is working with you 4 days a week from, 2 in the afternoon till 11 at night, and they have a break, then that's an employee. That is not a contract worker. So any questions about that?
I have a question. And I said I wasn't gonna say anything else the rest of the night. No. On
Is this Gwen?
Yes.
Ah.
And on the cost of scaling up, I'm in the same position that Dana is in. I do different shows, and last year I was at the Midtown Market, and I did double, sometimes triple what I usually do, and I still would sell out by 4 o'clock on Saturday and have to come home, make more stuff to take Sunday, and it just kept on like that. And I said, okay, I'm going to stay ahead of it. I know I sold this many, so I'm going to make triple the amount, and I still sell out. And I'm not doing 4 times the amount, but I'm in that same position. So you were saying if you scale up, you have to have new permits. So, and if you make over the dollar amount a year, what kind of permit do you have to get to continue doing it? Like if I make my quota, because I did a Mother's Day weekend, for instance, I did the same thing. It was a new spot though, and I figured I wouldn't need to make that much. So I only did doubles, and I sold out. I had to come home and make more stuff, and I was ticked off because I just knew I was going to have it easy. But at any rate, if you go over the dollar amount for your cottage permit, there's another permit that you have to get in order to continue selling for the rest of the year?
Yeah, they want you in a commercial kitchen. They don't want you to sell at home make the stuff at home anymore. You're too big. So that's what it
so
is.
if you reach your 25,000, then you got to move to a commercial kitchen.
Yes. Jay, do you have anything to add on that one?
Wow.
No, I think that's the best advice for that. It would just be keeping track of, I mean, you'll have to be keeping track of like your expenses and everything. And then, you know, you have to be in touch with the health department too. A lot of times individuals don't run their numbers until after the season. So it's a tricky place to be in, you know. The health department, if you don't run your numbers until later, I mean, you might not find out until later. The health department wants to trust that you're going to report to them. If you don't find out till later and you report, they may say like, okay, you're over this year. Next year, we would like to see this other one happening. And I think it's just a matter of like that honor system that you're going to be reporting properly. But if you are over the limit and you do know and you are hiding it from the health department, there is like it can get messy down the road.
Yeah, you need to be filing your reports with them in a timely manner.
And that amount is, you said 25,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't think I never get that close. Then I only made like 3,200 last year, so I'm okay.
Okay, so you're well within that. And you know what happened to me was long ago when they only had a 12-week permit for farmers markets, but the markets were going from May to October, and I would go in there and say, hey, markets go May to October. They're like, well, it's just a 12-week permit and it can only be 12 weeks in a row. And you got to decide which end of the thing you want to be on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, I can't work 4 weeks and then take 2 weeks off and then and they're like, no, 12 weeks consecutive. And that's how strict it used to be for the farmers market permits. And then they're like, well, you know what, if you want to sell longer than that, we want you in a food truck. We don't want you doing pop-ups. Like, oh, well, that's weird. I better get a food truck.
Are you gonna buy my food truck for me?
I know. I'm like, well, some people just really like having a pop-up and their kids there at the market, you know. Let's see.
Yeah, sales. So it's not the amount that they're like profiting.
Right. Yes, thank you. So Jamie Ann just said that she looked it up and it is your sales. It's not your profit. It's your total sales. So if you say I made 3,200, but I sold 16,000 worth, then that's, a little bit, that's definitely different. And then
that makes sense. I'm gonna have to start keeping a closer eye on things then, I guess, because that makes total better sense. And I've been selling more in other spots than I have, because I have a catering thing for next Wednesday, as a matter of fact, and different things are popping up, and I'm doing more than I did last year. And I thought it was how much I make gross. I mean net, not
Net,
gross.
yeah.
So okay, now I know gross sales.
Gwen, we're gonna have a meeting.
Okay, I'm game.
And also they had a requirement that if you're doing catering, you need a catering license. Now, I don't know about like small people, but they're saying if I, as a food truck, was doing catering, then I needed my food truck permit and my catering permit. And they charge the same amount for catering for everyone across the board, whether you are like Glacier Brew House and you do $20 million of sales a year, or if you were the Magpie and you make 70 in sales a year, 70 million, no, I'm just kidding, $70,000 a year in sales, not what I'm actually making, then I would pay the same amount for my permit, which I used to fight with them about all the time because I didn't think that was cool, but that's what it was. And so I'm like, so if I'm serving food at a wedding and I have my employees there, then that's catering. Even if I'm doing it one time because I'm an existing business, they wanted me to have a catering permit for the whole year. Now, if you are dropping off food and utensils and then coming to pick it up later, that's not catering. That's food delivery. If you are going into an office and you're setting up a tablescape and making it beautiful and putting out beverages and the whole spread, that's catering. Does that make sense? Good, got it, perfect. Expectations of a commissary kitchen is that sometimes you might be there in the middle of the night. Some places won't let you do that. Some say, oh, you know what, you can come in at 5:30 at night, but they're also like closing their kitchen and washing the dishes, and you need to wash the dishes too. So those are things to just kind of observe and to think about when you are thinking about your scaling up. And then you're also going to sign a contract with the property owner. You might have to have a manager come inspect you on the way out. I know I did one where I would take pictures and then text them to someone when I was leaving. So they knew, like, okay, I wash all the dishes, I mop the floor after myself. And I thought that was pretty fair. I thought that was a good way to do it. Any questions on that?
What would be your suggestion? So I've been toying around actually building a commercial kitchen. I still am looking into
Who's
zoning.
speaking? I can't, is it?
Jamie Johnson.
Jamie, I see you now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm still looking into zoning. What would be your suggestion? I would really like to interview, to talk to others about what they've, experienced, what they would like, what they don't like. How would you go about that?
There's a lot of surveys out there right now on Facebook about people trying to do the same thing. And my son is 14. And since I was pregnant with him, people have been trying to do this in Anchorage. So that's including myself. But I mean, there is a need for it. There definitely is. And when I lived in Bloomington, Indiana, there was an old Coca-Cola bottling plant that they took and they made it into like 4 commercial kitchens and a bakery and a coffee shop. And it would have been for an organization like Awake, right? And all those people that were getting services and all like the foster kids and at-risk youth worked there, and they got a certification there, and they had a catering company there and a little deli, and they had the 4 other kitchens that you could rent, and the money would go to them. It was amazing. But that's what I wanted to do, right? But there was just nowhere for me to do it in town that I could find, Jamie.
Right.
But unless I have $10 million laying around, very good. which I do not.
Yeah,
I
well.
don't. You might think that I do, but I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is a great effort. I think there are a lot of people you could talk to, and you could come to ACLT and talk to them there, and they could also point you to other people. And I think this could be, you know, a really nice collaborative effort. And are you in Anchorage, Jamie?
I'm in Wasilla.
She's in Wasilla. Okay. So yeah, I think in Wasilla, if there's a nonprofit or anything out there that
The SBDC has an office.
SBDC, the small business.
That's where I was gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
go there, and they have one in Anchorage too, and they do classes on QuickBooks and all of that, like free classes. If anybody's interested in that, you can do that here. I also know like the cooperative extension service is also a really great asset to have around. And they're of course proponents of the markets and of food businesses in general. So they're, especially like in Fairbanks, they might have some classes. They used to do some classes down here. There are a lot of people that are interested and passionate about this subject. So, but if you want to meet up at some point or something and talk to me or someone from here, then, that would be great. Even just a phone call.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, so maybe somebody in this room has a commercial kitchen. Maybe I just sold mine. So, let's see, what is next? And I'm sorry if we're going long. It's been great. So your best practices, you got to be proactive, maintain a calendar with your dates and your deadlines. That goes along with the notebook. Notebook and the calendar for me are like the most important things in the biz. You got to have your permit deadlines, and you have to know when your insurance is coming out and when you're going to have your inspection, and then like who's doing the cleaning and who's doing what, and then your social media. So you can go back and you can use me as an example of the Magpie AK, all one word, and that's on Instagram and that's on Facebook, and you can see what I did in the past. And you could see like when I had a dry spell and I wasn't into it, that also happened. But yeah, pictures of your food, exciting announcements, telling people where you're gonna be, maybe just a short little video. Those are always nice to have on there. And then also, I had something else. Have a file. Have a file you bring with you every time you go somewhere that has permits in it, your CERSA certification, your insurance, everything, all in this one file. So you can just say, here's my file. Instead of like, thank you. Instead of like running around like crazy, like, I don't know, like I've been to the DMV 3 times this week and I hate it. So just make a file. And I watched this movie about how they made McDonald's. Do you remember that? The Founder. And one of the things they did is they timed themselves over and over. And so I think that is a good little tip, is like practice. And I did practice setting up my farmer's market tent in the driveway and like setting everything up, but I didn't really time it. I was just like looking at the logistics. But I think you should do it and you should time it, and you should know if this market opens at 9 and I need to prep for an hour and a half and it takes me an hour to set up all my stuff, I need to get there earlier than I thought because I also have to load up. Oh my goodness. So I think that's an important thing to do, and you'll get faster as the time goes on, especially if it's a repeat market. But yeah, learn to set up that tent. Oh my gosh. Also, if you have tents, make sure you have weights for the legs. You need like concrete blocks. You need milk jugs full of water or sand, several for each leg, because the wind here is insane. And I have seen them tip over and over. And then have an easy to read sign with your business name. And what's the other word? I can't say. Oh, your menu. Yeah. So I have really bad eyes. I don't know if you can see like how thick my glasses are, but it's really important to have legible handwriting. If it's on a chalkboard or something, print it out big so people walking by can see it. If I'm in the middle of the aisle in the farmer's market and I look over and I'm like, oh my gosh, they have palmini and I love it, I'm gonna go over there. Unless, I don't want to walk over and just be like, it's gonna, because, that's just something to think about. If you have a logo, go ahead and try to put your logo on something cool. If you don't, just make sure that people can read your sign and be creative with it and fun. That's like one of the really fun things to do is to, make your signs and make your menu. Because I used to get really frustrated when people come up and they're like, and I had a big door, a full-size door that I paint with chalkboard paint, and it was all pretty, and it'd be like written this big, $12 egg sandwich. And I am not kidding you. Every single time someone would walk up and they go, what do you have? And I'm like, it's on the menu. And then they look at it and they just have like a glazed look, and then they go, do you have hot dogs? Like every single time. So I was just like, I don't know how to fix this, but through years, just kind of like make it simple and train your employees to know, like, if you can't write all the ingredients out where it's legible, you don't have to put every single ingredient. So you just, if you have a good employee that's taking the orders and they're like, oh yeah, what's on that goat sandwich, then, they can tell them. Or if someone has allergies, that's also really good to know. Because like I have a child that has a lot of food allergies. And so it's important that your employees also know that, oh, this has peanut oil, everything's cooked in peanut oil, or that we have something that has almond flour in it and it might come into contact with other things. So I think that's also in their best practices is food allergies. Does anybody have any questions? Great. Let's see. So your resources and networks, available resources, this slide deck, blank business plan. You can get those online. You can get it probably from ACLT. You can get it from the SBDC. You can get it just, a template from Google, whatever. Your blank cost projections tool, same. The resources and networks. So we have our fire and our health department here in the Muni. And then we have our local DEC officer directory. And that would also be in the Muni, but that would be for wholesaling. Or if you're going to be selling somewhere else, not in Anchorage. And then there's the Food Truck Association nonprofit that we've had for many years. And there's so many lovely, knowledgeable food truck owners that would really love to talk to you. We're all pretty chatty and help you out and give you some, realistic information. So is there another slide? Is that the end? Oh, here we go. And the Farmers Market Association also. So that's great. They'll have a lot of information about where you can go and the dates and who the market managers are. Remember, you have to have the market manager and you've got to get on their list 2 weeks before the event. And then you can go to the health department.
Yeah, and Megan actually has the Alaska Farmers Market Association directory that she would like to share with us quickly, if that is okay.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in so that you all know how to contact your farmers market manager. If you know which farmers market that you want to sell at, let me, it says that I cannot share. So, there we go. Can't do two at once. So alaskafarmersmarkets.org. We have an online directory and our website is getting revamped. So this is going to look a little different in hopefully a week or two. But our market directory, we're kind of doing a soft launch this week for it to test things out. We were working with Market Spread. So we have a nice map of all the markets in the state and they're all listed out. And if you click on, I'm going to pick on Homer just because that's our executive director's former market that she ran. You click on a market, you can scroll down and see who the manager is. This still says Robbie Mixon, but now it's Lauren Giroux. So we'll update this, but we're working out the kinks a little bit. But Robbie was the market manager for over a decade, and you can send an email, you can contact them through our website. You can also see our contact information. I'll put mine in the chat too. You can reach out to me directly or to Robbie, and we are happy to answer any questions that you may have or get you in contact with a market manager. But things like, signage that was touched on and blank business plans, we're actually working on a toolkit that's geared toward farmers market managers, but there's a lot of information for vendors in there too. So we'll actually include templates for business plans. We won't have those cost templates just because we're not getting quite that specific for vendors, since it's more for market managers, but there's still a lot of information within that toolkit that could be useful to you as well. Information even on like sizing on signs, so that by distance, so that people can read, like you mentioned, Amanda, can read what your ingredients are, what you have, and you're marketing your business well. So yeah, lots of good information, and I will drop my email in the chat. But thank you, Amanda, again for all of that amazing information, and Lisa for coordinating this. This was great.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Megan. And I just wanted to ask if folks want the resources that we provided, if you could direct message me your email address, we will send all of this to you with all of the packet that Amanda talked about and all of the resources that we have. So you don't have to put it in the chat to everybody, but if you click on the chat, and then it says to, and you can just say me to Lisa, then we can send that to you.
Thank you all. I hope I was able to give you some information, and if you have questions, I can stay on for a little bit and answer what I can. But like I said, I think in the future, maybe having the food truck class specifically would be good, because a lot of you do have questions about that. And anyway, enjoy. Oh yeah, jams, jellies, and things. I'm gonna check this out. But enjoy the sunny, beautiful evening. Thank you all so much.
Yes, and
I just have one comment before we hang up, before we all get off, and this is for Gwen. I don't know if Gwen remembers, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, she is the person that got me started with my cookie business. Because I had took the setup shop class, and then I was at the market on Thursday with another friend of mine that took it, and Gwen was there, and we were just talking. I was like, but what do I need? What kind of permit do I need? I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to start. And Gwen told me everything I needed to do. And then after that, I did it and never looked back. So thank you, Gwen, for my success.
You're welcome. I do remember that. It was a setup shop event at the farmers market, and we were supposed to be there, and there was only I think 3 of us from the class that came out actually.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, I remember, and I still do that. There's a lady, as a matter of fact, with the Arc Recreation Center that sells clothing, and she's asking me for some help and some stuff, and I've had a couple of conversations with her about what she needs to do and what she can do, and where to go get her licensing and all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't mind helping out, and I'm so glad you kept going though. That's a good thing.
Okay, that's it. I'm not gonna say nothing else.
Okay, me neither.
The class ends.
Okay, good night, ladies, and I will be in touch, and I will be on the next class. But I did think this was going to be just only about food trucks, but I did learn quite a few things tonight, and so I really appreciate the effort that was put into this class, and I'm expecting to be getting those spreadsheet copies, the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay, Lisa.
I'm on it.
Yes. I will be talking with you all later, and I'll be talking to Lisa later on, because we actually had a meeting today about food trucks. So this is gonna be fun. And my kids will be happy because I won't be running around like a chicken anymore. So
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so just to say what I said in the chat, we're gonna have, again, this is part of a series. So we're gonna have another workshop led by the wonderful Amanda next month. And that will talk more about costing. And I know that people had a lot of questions about that. So we will, yeah, we'll see you hopefully in June. And I will send you all the information if you send me your email in the chat.
Earlier, somebody was asking about a commercial kitchen through like a nonprofit. I think you guys were talking about that.
Is this Afiya?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to let her know that since she's in Wasilla, there is a nonprofit called Kids Cupboard or something like that. They just built a commercial kitchen, and I'm sure they would love to have somebody come teach the kids how to cook, or kind of like trade off things to use their space, or like, you know, that way the money goes towards something good to rent the kitchen versus just somebody random for no reason.
Oh, wow. That's too bad they're out in the Valley. I actually did a class back in 2016 for kids, and it was fun, and they learned a lot. And at the end of the class, and I showed them how to cook and how to do different dishes, and put together a whole cookbook for them at the end of the class, and gave them aprons with their names on them. And it was fun. And kids are fun to work with, but too bad they're out in the Valley.
I was just going to mention, so I'm Amanda. I'm on Jamie Ann's computer. Here's the real Jamie Ann.
Hi, Jamie. No.
And so my email is the magpieak@gmail.com. And for some reason, stuff has been going to my junk folder and spam. I don't know why. So if you don't hear from me right away, the kids are almost out of school. So you can call me at reasonable hours and we can set up times to meet. Or if you feel like you need a mentorship, you know, talk to ACLT and they can, you know, get in touch with me or many other people that they know that have expertise.
And it is 8:01, so I'm going to let you all enjoy this either sunny day if you're in Anchorage, or stormy day if you're hanging out with Megan, and hopefully see you all soon. But thank you so much for coming, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks.
So hard done. Thank you. This was wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Recording too. I don't know if you can share that.
Oh.
with me.